Welcome, NACSMA members. This is our continuing series with contact center professionals. Today we're talking with Mark Carrier. He's the Managing Director at Marketing Tactics. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, hello, Stephen. Nice to be with you again. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mark. Today we're talking about advanced training skills. One of the questions I have is, why is it important to include conducting skills audits and creating coaching plans in team leadership programs?
Well, good question. And, these are two things you rarely see in, call centers that call center managers and team leaders use these tools. And, one of the biggest problems team leaders face, when it comes to coaching is figuring out where to start. A lot of them may be really good at a lot of things, but there may be some areas that they're not that skilled in, and they need to identify those areas and realize that, okay, I can get that expertise to help my team from someone else, within the call center. And, where skills audits come really handy is because it identifies all the coaching opportunities, that need to be covered to make sure team members have the skills needed to regularly hit their targets and KPIs. And, when you find that you train team leaders on how to conduct a skills audit, it makes creating coaching plans really, really simple. I mean, skills audits and coaching plans are, they go together like peas and carrots. They're very vital. A skills audit really just covers all the areas of your call structure, product knowledge, systems use, and any admin skills that, team members need to be top performers. Excuse me. And, not only do team leaders need to be trained on how to conduct a skills audit, they also need to be coached to do it regularly. What I would recommend is that they do one at least every quarter. And then that way, they can track to see how progress has been going on particular areas with each of the team members. Plus, that gives them a chance to capture any new team members that have joined the team within the last 3 months. Also, it really shows how, them quickly where their team members need help. And if they, if there's a lot of people that need help in a particular area, they can create a group training session, or if it's an area like systems knowledge, on the CRM or something like that, they can arrange for these people to have a group session with, a product master or somebody who's highly proficient in that area to make sure they get the right training. Wouldn't it be wonderful to know that team leaders are on top of all the areas that each of their team members need help in, and where they need to be coached so they can get better? The thing that surprises me is, I don't know why call center managers and other senior managers wouldn't insist on this, because it gives me the confidence to know, okay, everybody's on top of what needs to be done, and they're prepared to get on with it. Now we can track what they're doing to see that they're getting it done, which kind of leads us into the coaching plans. If you identified areas in the call structure that they need help on, it's really easy to go, okay, they need help on the introduction phase of the discovery phase. Now I'm going to do some training with them on that. So I'll listen to a few calls and I'll do that. That's as easy as they can do with a coaching plan, and they formalize that by putting that into their schedule, weekly training schedule that they have with their team member. As I said before, it could be something to do with, HR. Maybe somebody has been less than appropriate in some of their behavior, and they find that there's others that are like that too. Now, you don't have to take the whole call center in to do a HR training on, proper behavior or appropriate behavior, but maybe there are 4 or 5 individuals, not just in one team, but across the whole call center, that the call center manager can identify and say, okay, based on what I'm seeing with all the team leaders, we've got enough people. Let's put these 5 or 6 people into a little class with somebody on HR, and they can bring them up to speed on, appropriate behavior, to correct that. And, I think you find that once people see that the skills audits are done, and, they should be brought to any meeting, once they're finished, and the coaching plans, they should take those to the meetings that they have with their call center managers so that they can go over them and identify, all the areas that they have. And also, this gives the call center manager a lot of confidence that they're on top of the needs of their team and they've got plans to identify them. And, the call center manager in turn can, bring that up to their managers and bosses, so they have a lot more confidence that people are on top of things as well.
Well, that's good conversation on those audits and the coaching plans. And so, it's important, for organizations to properly train people on products and systems knowledge. And I think a lot of organizations focus most of their training on that, from that perspective. And you're talking about leadership training and why it's different. Kind of give us some insight so people understand how training someone on products and services that you utilize the tools in your company, as opposed to teaching individuals, leadership people, training management skills. What's the difference between those 2 different types of training programs?
Yeah, well, I think the thing is, it's not so much the programs themselves, but maybe a couple of elements. All team leaders and frontline people, they should know all the different aspects of, the products, features, and benefits, and things like that, how it works, and all of that. There's no question. But a couple of things that they typically don't get, and particularly a team leader needs so they can share it with their team. And that's to identify, who your ideal customer is. I think a lot of companies really miss this, and they really should get onto it. I mean, ideal customer could be what a lot of people in the marketing department refer to as a buyer persona. I think it's really important to understand, who these people are, who your ideal customers are, what motivates them. I mean, it's more than just the demographic and psychographic information, that the marketing department might have on them. I mean, you really want to know what problems that they have and what's keeping them up at night, and, what are the features of your products or services that your company provides that can help them with that, and not everybody has the same problems, but, try to help them identify what problems and areas, so when they're talking with customers, these things will resonate with them and they go, oh yeah, and then they can ask more questions to do with greater discovery, to say, oh, let me ask you, are you also concerned about these things? Okay, now I'm getting a better idea of what you need. So when they're looking to provide a solution or, do a presentation in a sales environment, they can say, how you mentioned to me, Stephen, that you were worried about this and that. Well, the great thing about XYZ is that it helps you with that because of this and that and this, those sorts of things. And the other thing that you need to know is, what kind of people are there? Where do they hang out? People want to know how much you care before they care about how much you know. And particularly in sales, you need to develop trust with people. And the best way to, help you develop trust is to find some commonality. And if you understand your ideal customer, that there are particular common things that, hobbies and habits and, movies and TV and different things that they enjoy, if you share some of those, you can throw something out and say, oh, while I'm, my computer's coming up or this page is coming up, did you catch, this thing on Netflix the other night? Stuff like that to build some rapport. You can't develop trust without rapport. And the other thing that they miss that's really important is their sales funnel. Today, team leaders need to know what's happening before they talk to the customer and what's driven them there and what's going to happen after they have a conversation. For example, if they're responding to inbound ads, generated from Facebook or doing direct marketing, direct mail or TV ads or anything like that, they need to see what the ad is. They need to understand what, how the customer got driven to them, so they understand where the customer is in that journey. And the same thing with after, if they've come up with a resolution and a customer service point of view, they need to understand what happens next, or even in a sale. What happens in terms of delivery? What can the customer or client expect in terms of their delivery expectations? They need to know all of those things. And quite frankly, from my observations over the years, people don't really worry about that. They just, just stick to your script and that's all you need to know. And quite frankly, no, they need to know more. They need to know how the person got to them and what's going to happen to them after them, so they can set things up properly to get the best overall outcome that the company's looking for.
Well, this is great conversation. So in a synopsis, advanced training skills on your leadership team, maybe in a short paragraph, what is that going to do for an organization or not do for an organization when it comes to results?
Okay, well, let me put it to you this way. You've heard the old 80-20 rule, where 20% of your team, in this case, we call it, are delivering 80% of the outcome, right? Well, what if, let's say you had a really good team leader training process that helped them really develop their team members and turn underperformers into top achievers. And let's say that, if, just by following that process, you could raise that top 20% by another 5%. So now you had 25. So if you had 100 operators in your call center, you had 20 that were the best. Now you added another 25%. What would that do for you achieving your KPIs and hitting your targets every month? And let's say after a few months, you raised that from 20 to 30 by another 10%. What would that do? And then 6 months down the track, you raised it to 40%. Can you imagine if you had 40 out of 100 of your team leaders that were actually the higher top performers? I mean, you would have doubled your productivity. And I think that those things are really easy to achieve, but you need to have the right process in place with all the tools and all the proper training and all the resources to make sure that your team leaders have the skills they need to really make a difference.
Well, Mark, this has been an amazing conversation about advanced training skills, and we've really learned a lot during our time together. And I hope that the NACSMA members reach out to your organization for support on advanced training for their leadership team. Thanks so much for your time today, Mark.
My pleasure, Stephen. And, I understand that when you take somebody's time, you take something of value from them. So I hope over the series of these interviews, I've been able to provide some good value back to folks that have been watching us.
Thank you, Mark. I think so as well. Have a good afternoon.
You too. Thanks a lot.